the buyer presentations that we have in One Design Creative Studios, as well as the realty1group.ewebinar.com, which is a class on OneSuite that teaches you how to fully customize those buyer presentations. There's also a listing presentation on there, but this is more of a buyer class. So we talked about that. We talked about the Rock Title Home Buyer Guide. Has anybody contacted Rock Title to get it customized with their face and picture?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, good. Good. So we talked about that. We went to onerockstars.com and I showed you maybe 4 different little videos on buyer presentations. And then the last thing we did was we went over all the questions that you should ask. Somebody calls, Deborah, I want to buy a house. What is it that you say? What do you say? Okay, so today we're going to go into some tips that I'd like to share with you on buyer presentations, and then also how to do basic searches in MLS, how to do subscriptions, how to do a portal. And this class is going to be probably 30 minutes or so, 30 to 45 minutes. Okay. So and then next week, what we're going to do, I wanted to do it this week, but some of you may know this, some of you may not. They changed Zone from Zone to Zone Pro, and things are a little bit different. And I want to make sure I got a good handle on that before I teach the class. My zone as a broker is a little bit different than Agent's Zone, and I want to make sure I have a thorough understanding of the Agent's Zone before I go into teaching things from the Agent Zone. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a little bit about basic buyer presentation principles, and then we're going to do a MLS search, portal, subscription. We're going to go into Monsoon a little bit, and again, the class should be a little over a half hour. So there are several things here. I'm going to say 13 or 14. The first thing that I'd like to talk to buyers about is what I call market conditions. Market conditions is the heading of number one. And a couple of quick tips on market conditions. And again, I'm going to give you this information. You can put your own spin to it. But I would let buyers know in this market, now you're coming in, bringing them in for a buyer presentation. You haven't shown any homes yet. Before showing homes, now we need to have them sign a buyer broker agreement, the agency disclosure, and the affiliated business arrangement. Okay, so you're going to have them sign those 3 forms: buyer broker agreement, agency disclosure, and affiliated business arrangement. Those are the 3 documents that are required prior to showing homes. What happened to my drink? Did you take a tray? Huh?
It does look very appetizing.
It does. I may have left it over here. Let me grab my drink, bro.
What is it?
Some coffee of them.
Oh.
It looked delicious.
So you're, how much you have in escrow? Are you the buyer exchange?
Yes, so I just closed my listing this month, but my 2 in escrow in July, I'm both buyers.
Okay,
Yep.
so you've had a listing
Yep.
and then now, okay, that's great.
hmm
So
Really?
you're hanging out in Sun City West?
Yeah,
or-
so I'm kind of all in the retirement community. So I've shown homes in Arizona Traditions, but I've done Sun City West, Vistancia, Trilogy
Yeah,
up there
okay.
in that area. So I'm
That's okay. I understand.
kind of in just those areas so
My
far.
area. So you're my politician.
Maybe.
I think what I'm going to start doing is doing these classes. I got a lot of different series, but I'm going to have them available on Zoom, but maybe I won't record them because other than Casey, I'm disappointed in our turnout. So buyer conditions, that is number 1 out of 13 or 14. So what I like to tell buyers right now is we are in a buyer's market, right? We're in a buyer's market. There are more homes for sale than there are buyers interested in those homes, right? So what happens in a buyer's market? Do prices generally go up or down?
Down.
Down. Generally speaking, they go down, right? So are they going down right now? I would say no, but they're not near appreciating the way they were just 5 years ago. That's for damn sure. Okay. So whether you have a house, a car, furniture, a box of pencils, sunglasses, if you've got an abundance of anything and few people interested in buying that, generally speaking, prices go down or they don't, or they increase at a very low rate. So we want to make sure the buyers understand that currently we are in a buyer's market here in Phoenix. Home prices may appreciate at about 2% a year. 6 months from now, I may give you a different number. Six months ago, I probably would have given you a different number. Right now, I'm going to say 2. And then what I also like to do is give buyers, again, when we bring them into the office, we're having a buyer presentation with them, probably in the main conference room like we're in right now, giving them an example of what, say, 2% looks like. So if you bought a $500,000 house, you can expect that house to maybe be worth 510 a year from now. as a general example. And there are certain parts of the Phoenix area where that number is very much different. But as a general statement for purpose of this class, that's what I would do. 2%, and then again, give them a dollar amount of what that means. 500,000 means 510,000. Also talk to them about interest rates. Again, we're still on market conditions, one of 13 or 14. Market conditions, interest rates today, about 6.5%. And of course, that's going to vary on your job and your down payment, your credit, and several other things once the lender takes in your bank statements, tax returns, W-2s. But today, we're going to say 6.5%. And then we also give an example of what happens if that changes. So a 1% increase on a $400,000 loan, because I like to not only give the fact, but then give it an example of what that looks like. A 1% increase in interest rates on a $400,000 loan increases that monthly payment by $268. Okay, so that's significant, 268 every month. And then the next question is, well, is 6.5%, is that low or is that high? What do you guys think? Is 6.5% right now low or is that high? Compared to what?
A couple of years ago, it's not.
4 years.
Yeah.
Well, my buyers are assuming a loan of 2.85.
That's a great benefit of assumptions.
And that's what we're trying to do right now.
Mhm.
Not saying it's gonna work, but
Right.
haven't got approved for it yet. So.
That's a good example. That's why assumable loans are very popular. So the question is 6.5% high or low? And the answer is depending on what? Compared to what? Compared to 4 or 5 years ago during COVID, it's extremely high. Compared to a historical perspective, it's very low. My first ever home I bought was in 1999. I had an 8% interest rate, and I was thrilled. Absolutely thrilled at 8%. So to me, 6.5 is low. And again, it's low compared to historical standards, historical figures. That's market conditions. Let's go on to the next one, which is pre-approval. You want to make sure you talk to your buyer during that pre-showing consultation that they need to get pre-approved. And some of them might say, well, I know I'm approved. Well, how do you know? I just know. You don't know. Have them contact Epic Lending, whoever it is, the lender that you're working with, to get pre-approved. Let them also know that by doing so, you're going to find out what your monthly payment is. And most importantly, certainly important, I don't know if it's most important, let them know that that pre-qual is required along with the offer. So we need to prove, we need to prove to the seller that we're qualified to buy this home. Therefore, you need to consult with a lender to get approved. Now, newer agents in the business, now is it required by law that the buyer has their pre-approval before showing homes? Nah, probably not. And I discourage any real experienced agents from getting in the car showing homes with any buyer who is not qualified. So newer agents, should they do that? I still say no, but there's something to be said to having a real live one-on-one real estate experience conversation with a living human being. So if you've got a buyer that just wants to hold off on getting the pre-approval and you're newer to the business, that's not a bad experience to have, to go out and show a real person, a real buyer homes. Okay, but generally speaking, you want to make sure that they're approved. Go ahead, Trey.
So I had a buyer one time. I dropped him now, but we were looking at homes for how long, and we came to a home where we were putting in an offer in, and I was like, and he said cash, like I'm cash, and I was like, okay. So I was like, I'm gonna need proof of funds for submitting the offer, and he argued with me about it. And he was like, we don't need proof of funds to submit an offer, and I was like,
You do.
I was like, well, when he searched it up for Arizona, but it says Arizona state law doesn't require proof of funds to submit an offer.
The purchase contract says you need
Oh,
proof
okay.
of funds. Yeah.
Because I was like arguing with
If
him.
I was a seller, I would say, you want me to take my
Exactly.
home off the market for 30 to 45 days and you're not going to prove to me that you're qualified to buy it?
Right. So I was like arguing with him back and forth, like, no, you need proof of funds. I was like, it might not be legal, but they're not going to entertain it. And
Yeah.
he like that was a big thing, and I was like trying to get him to realize, but after a while I realized, then we fell out.
Yep, that definitely happens. Okay, number 3, negotiating the offer. Negotiating the offer. We can kind of tie this into the first one, market conditions. So the wonderful thing about the market that we're in right now, and it'll change. I keep using the example of 6 months. 6 months from now, the market can be radically different. And that's the right word, radically. But as soon as you are convinced that the market is the market is the market, it changes on a dime and goes in the opposite direction quickly. Seen it many times in the almost 30 years that I've been doing this. So, what are the benefits of a buyer's market right now for your buyers? Because again, we're approaching this as if we're at the table here in the Glendale office conference room talking with a buyer before going to show homes. Well, the benefit is, generally speaking, sellers are probably willing to negotiate more on price. They're willing to negotiate more on terms. They're willing to, if you've got something that needs to be sold first as a contingency sale, they're more likely to accept that. They're probably more flexible on seller concessions if you need seller concessions. And here's a big one. They're probably more flexible on repairs, right? I've experienced multiple seller markets where seller blinks their eyes and they got four new offers. Those sellers aren't interested in making repairs. You want me to make repairs? No, I got four other offers here. In this market, it's a little bit different. So again, how we approach things it changes based on the market we're in. So that's negotiating offers. The next one is new construction. We want to ask them if they're considering new construction. I think that may have been one of the questions we had last week. Are you considering new construction? We also want to make sure that they understand that the salesperson at the builder sales office does not work for them. That person is an employee of the builders, right? So they really ideally should have their own representation, and that would be you. Okay, so make sure they understand that the builder sales office employee is just that, an employee of the builder. Also, make sure they understand that they can't go to that sales office without you on the first visit. Now, if they do, if they insist on it because they're out driving around some Saturday afternoon and don't want to bother you because they think you're too busy, make sure you, at minimum, give them a stack of your cards and let them know that as soon as they walk in the door, the first words out of their mouth to that sales agent is, "Hey, I've got an agent that I'm working with. Is it okay for me to look at these homes? I've got an agent I'm working with. Is it okay for me to look at these homes?" And if they say yes, which I think in this market, they probably will. And what do I mean by this market? Again, we're in a buyer's market. Things favor the buyer, not the seller. What is it? What is the builder? The builder's a seller. So they're more flexible in saying yes to that question now than they are in strong sellers markets. Okay, they'll probably say no to that question in strong sellers markets. Make sense? Yep. Okay, so again, that's new construction. Make sure you tell the buyer, don't go to the new builder without me. If you do, make sure you ask the question if it's okay for me to see homes even though I'm working with an agent. Okay, moving on. We're almost halfway done here with this segment. Shopping for your new home. So we want to set expectations. I always found that to be helpful to set expectations with buyers. Let them know that we through asking the questions that we asked that we learned in the first session and the research that we do, we really aim to get a good understanding of what it is they're looking for, where they're looking for it, why they're looking for it, and how we can make that happen. And how that relates to this session today is let them know it's not uncommon for the buyer to find their home in 4 or 5 or 6 showings. What we don't want is the buyer to be of the mindset that I'm going to look at 500 houses, and I'm going to tie the agent up for the next 6 months, 3 hours a day looking at homes, right? So because we ask the right questions, because we do the right research, it's not uncommon for us to find a home within 4 to 6 to 7 homes. Okay, so make sure you do that. I call that setting expectations. Also, let them know, again, we're in the buyer consultation phase. We haven't seen any homes yet. They're thinking about buying a home. They've come into the Glendale office and sat down in the conference room. These are things you're talking to them about. Also, in the setting expectations or shopping for your new home, setting expectations part, we want them to know that when they call you, generally you need at least 24 hours to get the home scheduled, right? Now, that's not always the case, but we want to set that expectation because what we want to avoid is the buyer that calls you at 10 a.m. saying, hey, 11 o'clock, I want to see this home in 1 hour. I got some free time. Can we do it? Well, maybe if you're available, but it's more than that. You know, you set up the showing on a line, which we're going to get into today. Listing agent, if it's vacant, that's great. If it's occupied, they're going to have to contact the occupant. Maybe they don't return the call for a couple hours, and you're not going to be able to get in at 11 o'clock if this call comes in at 10. So set expectations in that sense as well. Um, the next step is the contract. The contract. So what I always encourage is for agents to give, and I think the Rock Title buyer guide has one in there, a sample version of the contract that has sample across it. And if you don't use that, you can go to aaronline.com, or what I call Aaron Line, AARONLANE, Aaron Line, aaronline.com, and in the search box type for sample purchase contracts. So we want to give the buyer on the pre-showing consultation a copy of the contract and encourage them to review it. Encourage them to review it. Encourage them to call, email, or text you with any questions. And this generally gives them a much better understanding, and a buyer who understands at a deeper level is a better quality transaction all the way around. And it really saves you a lot of time when it's time to write that offer. Okay. So give a buyer a copy of the sample purchase contract and encourage them to ask any questions they may have. Also let them know, we're still in the contract section here, how long the close of escrow is. What would you guess it generally is? What's a great rule of thumb figure?
2 to 3 weeks.
Well, possibly if it's a cash deal, but if there's a loan
30
involved,
days.
30 days, of course. Yeah. So about 30 days. And that's, again, setting expectations. We're setting expectations on this appointment because you guys know this because you're real estate professionals. But somebody who buys and sells one home once every 7.5 years may not know this. Okay. So we're setting expectations, 30 to 45 days. Probably 40, maybe 45 if it is a FHA loan, FHA, maybe VA, 30 days if it is a conventional loan, and maybe 2 to 3 weeks possibly if it's a cash deal. By the way, if you do a cash deal and we're doing 2 to 3 weeks, you want to lower those dates for the inspection period. Instead of 10, the pre-printed language of the contract, there's a line. You want to change that to maybe 6. If you're going to close in 2 weeks, seller's response, instead of 5 in the pre-printed language of the contract, you want to change it to 2 or 3, and then the buyer's final election from 5 to 2 or 3. That's a different topic, but I thought of it, so I thought I'd say it. Okay, the next section here is on earnest money. On earnest money. So we want to let the buyer know, because again, for the 10th time, we're setting expectations on the pre-showing consultation, that earnest money will be due once we go under contract. So generally speaking, for those who have attended my contract class, how much is the earnest money?
Usually
Yeah, that's a
That's
good
good.
rule of thumb. Sure.
good, moderate.
Yep. Is 5% too much?
Shows you're really inclined.
It shows you're really inclined. Yep, you got a lot of what they used to call in the old days, a lot of skin in the game. You're ready to go. Yeah, 5 is not too much. If it's whatever the buyer and seller negotiate and agree to. Again, as a general rule of thumb, 1%, maybe 2% is what we see quite often. So let them know there's an earnest money. Set expectations. Once we go under contract, we're going to collect an earnest deposit for about 1% of the sales price. It's going to be a check made out to the title company. Maybe we go wire transfer it, but just generally speaking, a check made out to the title company. And again, the purpose of that is to show the seller that you're really interested in the home. Okay. Shifting gears to the next item, inspection period. And in the 4th class that we have, we are going to go into probably 15 minutes on this one topic. Today, we're going to do about 1 minute on this topic. So the pre-printed language of the purchase contract, make sure you tell your buyer, allows them a 10-day inspection period. Now, if it's land, it's probably 30. If it's different situations where you may change that number, but the pre-printed language in the contract shows 10. Let them know that during those 10 days, your buyer has the right to have any and all inspections they want. Most everybody hires a general home inspection, which is going to look at the heating and cooling, plumbing, electrical system, swimming pool. But they've also got the right, if they want to pay for it during those 10 days, to have a specialist come out, a roof specialist, a pool specialist, an air conditioning specialist, to give them an idea of the working conditions of those various items and what it might cost to remedy them. Okay, so let them know they've got a inspection period. The next item, go ahead.
During that inspection period, do you have the right to look at the property anytime you want? As long as you schedule it with the agent and let them know?
That is correct. You've got the right to multiple inspections. Yes. Here's something else. You got to also have the right to multiple walkthroughs as well. But let's keep on the theme of the inspection. So yes, as long as you do so prior to submitting the BINSR, buyer inspection notice, seller response, also known as BINSR. So if you have a 10-day inspection period, and you're right on the ball. I mean, on day 2, you've already done your inspection. That night, you've met with the buyer and you've created the BINSR and you submit the BINSR on day 2. Guess what?
Your 10 days are over.
Your 10 days are over. You forfeit the other 8 days.
Because we were on the road and I was like, I want you guys to sit out there during the like traffic hours, and see what you guys think. And the one realtor was like, well, my client didn't get the privilege of doing this when she bought the home. And I was like, that's your fault, not mine. Like,
Right.
but it was a big argument too, trying to get in there.
I bet it was. Yep. Okay, so that is inspection period. Next, we want to make sure our clients, our buyers know there's going to be some upfront non-refundable costs here that if the deal dies, you don't get back. So did they get their earnest money back? Well, yes, depending on the reason for the cancellation. No, depending on the reason for the cancellation. But most often we see buyers get their earnest money back if the deal cancels. Not always, but there are some upfront non-refundable items that's paid for by the buyer that if the deal dies, they don't get their money back. What would be an example of that?
The inspection, the appraisal.
Of course. A home inspection, what are they now? Depending on the size of the home, $500-600, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Termite inspection, maybe $100. Sometimes the lender will allow them to pay for that appraisal at closing if it closes. If it doesn't close, maybe they're not paying for it. Some lenders will require that payment up front. So they potentially have a little over $1,000 out there that if the deal dies, they don't get back. So they need to know that up front as well. Upfront non-refundable items. The next thing, and I got about four or five more here. The next thing is the appraisal. And again, on class 4, we're going to go over, just like the inspection period, about 10-15 minutes on this topic. Today, we're going to spend 1 minute on the topic of the appraisal. So the appraisal is ordered by the lender. Make sure your buyer understands that even if they and the seller both agree to the sales price, the appraiser still has to agree to the sales price. Right? So buyer and seller can agree. 500 is a great deal. Yeah, I agree. I'm the buyer. I love it. Seller and buyer agree to 500. The appraiser comes in and says this home isn't worth a penny more than 490. Okay, then there's a problem, and we'll talk about how to resolve that type of problem in class number 4. So make sure they understand that the lender is going to order an appraisal and really protects them from paying too much. An appraisal, unlike their subjective opinion of value, unlike the seller's subjective opinion of value, seller's got a lot of subjective opinion of value in there, right? They've had Thanksgiving dinner in this room for the last 10 years. They've raised their kids there. There's a lot of objective value, subjective value there, right? Maybe perhaps the buyer has some subjective opinions. It's a great home, only 3 minutes from my damn near walking distance to work. I mean, I really want to be in this house. That's subjective value. My mom lives 2 doors down. What a great opportunity to connect with mom. She lives 2 doors down. There's one house between us. A lot of subjective value. Let them know that the appraiser has objective value, right? And it needs to be needs to appraise for at least the sales price. Okay, next one is walkthrough. The walkthrough. So let them know that if you need to just be careful here.
Yep.
That 3 to 5 days prior to closing, and sometimes it's 1 to 2 because it's just the way life works, but generally 3 to 5 days prior to closing, your buyer has the opportunity to do a walkthrough. And the purpose of the walkthrough is twofold. Number one, to confirm that those items we asked to be repaired back in the Binzer phase, the home inspection phase, have in fact been repaired. And then number two, to confirm that there's nothing new. Nothing new. And what I mean by nothing new is not, ooh, we get a second opportunity to inspect the home. No, you don't. What I mean by anything new is, did the air conditioner go out? So let's say the air conditioner worked great when you showed the home, worked great when the offer was accepted, worked great on the home inspection. But again, because that's the way life works, 24 hours before closing, the AC goes out. And is the seller obligated to fix that? Yeah, they are. They are. Because the home has to be, the word is substantially in the same condition at close of escrow as it was when the contract was accepted. Contract was accepted, the AC was working, it needs to work at the at closing. So again, the walkthrough is 3 to 5 days prior to closing. The purpose of the walkthrough is twofold: to confirm those items we asked to be repaired during the inspection period have in fact been repaired. And number two, the home is in substantially the same condition at closing as it was when the contract was written. Okay, let's go to signing. Let them know that 1 to 2 to 3 days. Contract says at least 3 days, but again, the reality is sometimes it's one. 3 days prior to closing, they will go to the title company, or the title company will send a mobile notary to them at work, at home, to sign closing documents. 3 to 5 days prior to closing, the title company will send a mobile notary or have them come in to sign closing documents. And those closing documents, for a buyer, for a seller, it takes about 10 minutes. For a buyer, they're easily in there for 45 to 50 minutes. Right? What's the difference? What's the difference there? Why does it take so much longer for a buyer to sign than a seller? Any idea? Mortgage? Yep. The buyer's got all those loan docs to sign. Seller doesn't have loan docs to sign. So generally it's about 45 minutes maybe for the buyer to sign, or it might be only 10 minutes for the seller to sign. They gotta bring their ID if there's a notary. So, okay, so that's the signing. And let them know that, and this is important. Again, this is something that real estate professionals obviously know, so they assume others know. But again, those people who buy or sell a home once every 7.5 years may not know this. I signed, the home is mine. When does the home become the buyer's? When it's recorded. That's right, when it's recorded. Who does the recording? It's recorded at the Maricopa County Recorder's Office, but who does the release to record? Escrow officer. Escrow officer. So the home is not the buyer's, even though the buyer spent 47 minutes and 25 seconds signing away so much their hand hurts. The home is not theirs yet. The home's not theirs until the new deed, when I say deed, I'm referring to a warranty deed, when the new deed records with Maricopa County Recorder's Office. Okay, so the escrow officer will contact you and say, probably by email, congratulations, Deborah, congratulations, all party, we've closed. At that point, you're going to meet with you're going to go back and get the key out of the lockbox. Don't do it until it closes, of course, without permission from the listing agent, and then give it to your buyer. And more on that in class 4, and we go into deeper detail on each one of those: inspection, appraisal, walkthrough, and signing. Okay, closing costs. Buyer might ask, well, what is it going to cost me to buy this home? Well, the home's listed at $500,000. No, that's not what I'm asking. I know it. What is it going to cost me to buy the home? What are they referring to?
Title fees, loan fees,
Exactly.
all the working fees.
That's right. All the working fees, all the closing costs, right? And when you're a buyer, the vast majority of those fees are lender fees, right? Yeah, title fees as well, but yeah, the escrow side and also the title side, but 80+% is lender fees. So you could do one of two things. You could either contact their lender and find out what their costs are contact your favorite escrow officer, hopefully somebody from Rock Title, and find out what their fees are. Or you can use the Rock Title app and type in some information. It'll give you a pretty close idea of what those fees are. Okay. So that's a good way to do it. But of course, make sure you let them know that this is an estimate. I'm not the title company, so I don't know exactly to the dollar what their fees are. This is an estimate. I'm not your lender, you know? So if you want an exact figure, you got to contact your lender. But this is going to be an estimate. That way they don't hold you to the exact dollar
I tried
when
the
escrow asks for the money.
I tried the Sky Slope has an estimator in there.
Yeah.
I was just messing around with it today, but it goes from a certain title like they get a general title company's info, so it's not like your title company fees,
Okay.
but it was okay. I'm still trying to like get better at getting those fees together. But
Yep. Yeah, and there's
there's a few
several.
different apps.
There sure is. Yep. And while I'm thinking of it, I'm going to show you this too. It's also available in MLS. So if you click on menu and then to calc instead of looking for it down, I'm just going to type it in. CALCU calculations. In MLS menu, then in the search bar calculations, amortization schedule, closing cost estimator. And you can click on these and create one for your buyer and seller. So that's another way to do it. Okay. So again, it was menu and then typing in calculators. Okay. Let's stay focused on what the class is. But I wanted to mention that to you. So you could poke around in there. Menus and then calculators. Okay. So, and the last thing you're going to share with them at the meeting in the conference room at the Glendale office prior to showing homes is what the goals are. Right. The goal, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, is to find you, the best home at the best price with the best terms. Right. But what else is it? What else is it's also to, provide you with such great service that you're going to refer friends and family to me because we want your referrals as well. Right. So you share with them what the goals for the transaction are. That was way longer than I had planned, but that's okay. It's only been doing this for 39 minutes. Definitely want to stay under an hour. Okay, any questions on any of that stuff? No? Okay, let's go into MLS search. Okay. So MLS search. So I'm going to show you how to set up a basic search, how to, as you can see here, there are just so many options, so many things you could do with MLS. First, I'm going to show you a wonderful training resource. Um, Is that what it is? Armless.com/classes? Yes, it is. So armls.com/classes. armls.com/classes. And if you scroll down here, these online courses, 4, 8, 11. These are 11 outstanding tutorials. They're short videos. They are short, sweet, to the point, no fluff. They did a wonderful job in these. If I were to I'd recommend them all. But if you're short on time and you only wanted to watch 4 or 5, probably the 4 most important ones would, interestingly enough, be this middle row right here. The middle row, adding a listing, how to create a CMA in Flex MLS. Would do that for your seller. Subscriptions and portals, and monsoon tax system. So that middle row is probably the most important. Superbox, Super Lockbox and Key. That's probably a good one. Align showings, Rapid Stats, Rental Beast. You probably won't use these two at all. Align showings would be a good one to watch. Okay, so that's armless.com/classes. They're all short 2-minute videos. I mean, everybody's got 2 minutes. It's pretty quick. Okay, so let's set up a basic search. Okay, so if you're searching for a property for a seller, or excuse me, for a buyer, we're going to click menu. We're going to do a search, then we're going to do a portal, a subscription and portal. Menu, quick search. Always make sure your template is on, what happened here? Menu, quick search. Nothing. Why nothing? Oh, it's been sitting a while. I probably had to just refresh it. There we go. Okay, make sure that your template is on residential as opposed to residential lease. This is where you go to find rentals. Want to make sure it's on residential. And then I'm just going to randomly throw some stuff in here. List price 500,000 to 600,000. Dwelling type single family residence. This will be detached. City, let's say Glendale. Zip code, and you don't have to type all this in. I'm just doing this for fun. Let's say 85308. That's Arrowhead area. And it shows you up here how many there are so far, 125. That's a lot. We need that number to be much lower.
I think Sun City West is like 326 or something like that.
Is it? Yeah.
Active listing.
4 bedrooms. How many bathrooms? Gotta be 3. 3 max and 3 minimum. I'm just trying to get this number down. 45 half bath square footage.
I want a pool.
It's got to be, there you go. It's got to be at least 3,000 square feet, JP. That brought me down to 1.
Ooh.
So
Damn.
Oh.
let's increase that or decrease that to 2,000. 40. 4. Okay, let's play with 4. And also you could put a subdivision in here. And there's a trick here. Let's say you want Arrowhead, the Arrowhead area, but there's a million Arrowhead Ranch, Arrowhead Lakes, Arrowhead. If you put the percent sign and then Arrowhead, and then the percent sign again, that's a catch-all for every subdivision name that's Arrowhead. The percent sign, the subdivision name, and then the percent sign again. That's a catch-all. If the listing agent put subdivision as Arrowhead Unit 74, you're never going to think to yourself, Arrowhead Unit 74. You should put an Arrowhead and the catch-all before and after that. So in this example, we have 4 homes. Let's click on those 4. So that's how you do a basic search in MLS. Now, a couple things I want to bring to your attention that are really important when you do this search. Well, let's just stick with the first one. And that is clicking on details. Become familiar with what's on this page and where it is so you can find it much quicker when a buyer asks you a question, you know where to look. Is showing instructions. Showing service, align showing. So here's how you show the home. Your buyer wants to see this home on 88th Lane. Up here to align showings, click on align showings, and that's where you schedule it. Schedule the date and the time from there. Okay, so that's how we're going to schedule. I'm not going to schedule it, otherwise the agent will call me. But that's how you do that. So look at align showings. That's one. And then the other thing I want to bring to your attention on these would be the documents tab. That's where you're generally going to find both the HOA addendum and the what, Trey?
Hold on. Quick question on that, actually.
Yeah.
For in the this is kind of going out, but in the documents, do you have to have adult community addendum and HOA? Or sometimes HOA also has the master plan community, which is the adult community, so you can only usually have one, but sometimes people want 2, so like, can you just do 1, or do you always need 2?
Do them both.
Do them both.
If I had my way, I would say do the HOA addendum and disclose the adult community as well as any fees in that. But there are some folks in Sun City who have been doing business in that community for many, many, many decades. And they've got a set way of doing things. And if you don't include the adult community addendum, they get mad. Exactly. So I would just say do the adult community addendum as well. Documents tab. In this case, just the ABA. But usually you find the SPUDs and the HOA addendum in here too. So make sure you click on the documents tab and aligned. And obviously there's many other things here, but for purposes of our meeting today, I'm just going to point out those two. Documents tab and align showings. Okay, if you wanted to edit that search, because we only have 4 in the box. Oh my gosh, I wish I had a couple more to see than just the 4. Edit search and just play with something here. So maybe we'll change that to 4 or 5 bedrooms, and that moved the number from 4 to 5. Okay, we got one more home now. Okay, and there's the results. Details gives you the details on that listing. If you want to see all the listings again, it's back to list. That's a list of homes, a list of homes. Okay, so we talked about how to do a basic search as well as how to schedule a showing through Aligned and look at the Documents tab for the SPUDs and the HOA addendum. So now let's set up a search. Okay, so we've created this search, the search criteria. We've got 5 homes, but that's not to say that tomorrow something new might pop up. So we're going to click Save. Save search. So once you've created the search, save, and then save search. The name of the search. And I always put the same name as the person, but you could put whatever you want. So let's go with Fred Flintstone again. So Fred Flintstone is the name of the search. In the description, you don't have to put anything, but what did we do for this? We did Glendale, we did Arrowhead, we did 4-bed to 5-bed. I think we did 2,000 square feet plus. So whatever you want to put in the description. Contacts. This is going to be a new contact. A new contact. Contact's name is Fred Flintstone. Trey, are you old enough to know who Fred Flintstone is? Are you? Good.
I grew up watching that show.
Yep, so did I every day after school. So we're going to type in the email, and that is one of my personal emails, jpcook111@gmail.com. We'll use that for this. So again, you created the name of the file, a brief description on this search. This is a new contact. We name the new contract and we put the new contract's email in there. We can create a portal, but not yet. I want to focus on subscriptions, then we'll switch over to portals.
You say that email was the creator of the search or the client?
The client.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm pretending that jpcook111 is the client. Or Fred Flintstone is the client, and this is Fred's email.
Oh,
Okay, then we want to do save and add subscription. You're going to want to click save because it's blue. It jumps out at you, but that's not the one you want. You want to click save and add subscription. My existing search has this name. Let's change the name to Susie Jones. I've done this class a couple times, so maybe that's in the system and won't let me use it again. Susie Jones. Let's change this to Susie Jones. Let's see if that works. Save and subscribe. Hey, it worked. Okay. So now we're on general subscription options. The name again is Susie Jones. Send notification of the listing to select clients. Yes. And by the way, there's so much stuff here, and MLS knows that their default settings is what you're going to need 90+% of the time. So I wouldn't tinker with what they have so much, especially when you're new. Do you want a copy of any new homes that go on the market? If you do, click that. But the default is for the seller contacts. Okay. Schedule. How often do you want them to get it? Every week? Monday through Friday? Monday through Saturday? Sunday? Yes. Monthly? Probably not. ASAP? What's the difference between ASAP and weekly? And the best I can understand is, and again, we're doing a subscription here, so the buyer is supposed to get a email notification anytime a home hits the market that meets the criteria that we saved for them. My best guess with the difference between weekly and ASAP is weekly allows you to do it like every other day. That's probably it. Versus ASAP is immediately once a home hits the market, which would be the same as weekly every day. Okay, now the creators may say, well, no, it's actually a little bit different, but that's my understanding of it. Okay, view send to email or view to send. Let's just keep the default, which is buyer by subdivision. If you click on this drop-down box, you're going to get a lot of different opportunities or a lot of different choices. I like buyer by subdivision. And again, the default stuff that MLS has for you is going to be pretty good 90+% of the time. Now you're going to create the body of the email. Now, what's important to know here is that the message you create is going to be for all saved searches in the future. Okay. So if you say in this body, check out the home at 123 Main Street. This is a really good one. I think you're going to like it. And click save. You don't want to do that because the next time something comes up, it's going to say, hey, check out this home at 123 Main Street. Okay, so it's important to know that this email has to be super generic because it's what they're going to see every time a new home hits the market that matches their criteria. So something as simple as, and I'm just going to type something in here. I probably wouldn't use this, but here is another great one, right? So they're going to see that every single time a new home hits the market. We're going to click save. Then it's going to ask us, okay, you've set up your subscription, but these 5 homes that you found, do you want to send them to them right now? Yeah, I do. So email these listings now. Email these listings now. Okay, kind of the same deal. But down here, this is specifically to right now. So this is where you can say, hey, here you go, but I really think you will like the one on 12345 Main Street. Okay, because that's specific to the email you're sending right now. Then we're going to click email. Go ahead. Sure.
So you set this up and you're sending this now. Will they just get one of these or will they get this extra personalized one and the other?
Just this one.
Okay.
But tomorrow they may get the other one, right? Because we're sending them an email right now on those homes that are currently available right now that meets the criteria they're looking for. A listing agent might put a new, go
There's
ahead.
a new listing or price reduction, they'll get that. But
Correct.
I'm just wondering if let's just say, so in this situation with there's 5 homes. So you're gonna email it right this minute, but you also set it to be on an automatic direct. So are they gonna get this email one time with the 5 homes and then the next time they get it will just be if there's an adjustment? Price adjustment.
That's my understanding. Yes.
Just wondered if they get both of those.
I don't think so. I think it's the latter. I think you'll just get anything new that hits the market. But when we go into portals, that's going to be totally different. That the answer to that same question is yes on portals, no on subscriptions, I don't think. Okay. Has anybody set up a subscription? Do they have a different answer?
I have been
Okay.
playing around with it.
Okay.
And this was really great to see what you just did right there. It clears up that weekly and that was kind of confusing to me, but now I get it. I'm on subscriptions, but I'm very interested to see what's happening in portals.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to click email. And Susie Jones just got an email with those 5 homes that are available. And she's been set up on a subscription. So anything new comes up, she'll get that as well. So now let's talk about portals. And if you go to, and I'm going to talk about it, but I also want to remind you, armls.com/classes, subscriptions and portals. There is about a 1 minute and 30-second video on portals. Intro to subscription and portals, right there, creating a portal. So I'm going to show it to you, but just for fun, let's see how long this video is. I don't think it's a very long video. 2 minutes and 12 seconds on how to create a portal. But I'm going to show you right now. But if you forget, that's where to go. Okay, so let's set up a portal. So the first thing we need to do when we set up the portal, because we've already set up the subscription, and I want to finish this class in 3 minutes. I don't want to go over 11 o'clock, is contact management. Contact management. And in contact management, we're going to look for Susie Jones because we created Susie Jones earlier when we created the subscription. So Susie Jones has to be in here somewheres. There she is. So here's Susie Jones. We went to contact management, typed in her name, and her name is in here because we added her name back when we created the subscription. Click on Susie Jones. Ta-da! There's portals. So Portal is basically a website. So it's basically a portion of the MLS that we give them access to kind of tinker around and do their own searches. So if I were you, I would go in and practice with this and set yourself up. Act like you're the buyer and set yourself up on a portal just to see what the buyer will experience. So you click Portal. Over here to the left, Client Portal. We want to turn the portal on. Okay, you click Portal at the top. And then Client Portal, you want to turn the portal on. Scroll down to Invite to Portal. Invite to Portal. So if I click Invite to Portal, Susie Jones is going to receive an email invite to create a login for this section of MLS that we're giving Susie Jones access to. She can, as I mentioned before, mess around in there and tinker around and do some searches. So it's basically giving her a portion of the MLS for her to do her own research on. Okay. And it is 11:58, and I think that is the class for now. Unless you all have any questions on anything we talked about today.
Click on that, use portals. I've actually never used portals.
I never really did either.
Thought it was weird, but if I did use portals and my client used portals, I could go into that portal and maybe see what they've saved. Like that would be what we're gonna go view today. But is that the whole thought process?
I suppose
Do you
so.
use
I
portals?
suppose so.
I've used it before. I wouldn't say it's really
Okay.
something
just wondered.
would.
I have a question for you too. You said you were trying to do an assumption. Is that a VA loan?
Casey, are you good?
So
I'm going to keep Casey on if you're good.
we came in and
Class is over, Casey, unless you have any
$600,000,
questions.
Assumable.
So much. Have a good day. See you
Okay.
later.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.
We're approved to assume it, but now we're working on the second loan as
Oh,
well.
look at all these people.
And
more people on
I guess so. It didn't show up on the previous screen.
How long have they been-
Ianta's there. Kim's there. Hey, did you happen to see anybody else on here other than the two of you? Iantha and Kim was just the two, and then Casey Siga?
Yeah, I think that was it. Was it
That
one
was
more
it?
person? I couldn't see the name though, but I think it might have been one more person.
I
Okay.
think Val was.
This
on
is
there.
Val. This is Iantha Gilbert. She and I are both from the great state of Michigan. Yep. Yep. Both from the Detroit area. Yep. Okay, so Kim and Iantha, what did you think of the class? Did you get any value out of it?
It's a good refresher course for me because it's been a while
Yes.
since I've used that. So,
Yeah, well, you're probably the most experienced agent out of everybody who's attending this class right now. So I'm glad that you got something out of it, a refresher.
yep, absolutely. Because I don't do too much these days. So it's good to keep all these refreshers going. So I
You bet
appreciate
it
it.
is. You bet it is. Yep. Thank you, Kim.
All right. See
Okay.
you next class.
Okay, yeah, next Thursday, same time. Are you
Okay.
good, Iantha?
I'm good. I'm good. It was a good refresher though. I like the especially the subscriptions and the portal part. That
Okay.
last part. So I'll see you on the next week class.
Okay, sounds good. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Let's see. And